everybody. This is the Man of the Champions, Bill Fonzie Alfonso, giving a shout out to
Something Else.
Something Else, Daddy.
This is Nicole Matara, Great Warrior Wolf, and you are listening to Something Else.
I'm Tony Cini, and you're listening to Something Else.
Hey everybody, it's Rich Palladino, the voice of New England, and you are listening to Something Else with Arya.
And welcome to episode number 155 of Something Else. Feast your ear holes on this week's episode as we take a look at world-class Christmas Star Wars from December 25th, 1983. My name is Arya, and joining me as always is the new year to the new me. It's Trae. Trae, how the fuck are you?
What are you resolving to me in the new year? What's your New Year's revolution?
My New Year's revolution is to win the Elimination Chamber and go to WrestleMania. Or my New Year's resolution is just to, survive the year. We'll see how well that goes.
Feel like that's about all anybody's doing anymore. Oh well, glad to be. We got through all of the holidays that other people get excited about, and now we're to my holiest holiday, Wrestle Kingdom.
Yes, we don't want to spoil how everything is made or anything, but even though this show is airing Tuesday, we're taping this before the Wrestle Kingdom, Wrestle Dynasty show that would have come out on Sunday. We're actually taping this uh, at uh, uh, at night on January 3rd, a good 7 hours before Wrestle Kingdom.
How are we? Are we still going to try to do a show on Sunday with you going to the football game?
Yep, that's the plan. The show is probably going to end around 3 in the morning, and let's do a podcast talking about both shows.
This is amazing audio, by the way. We are talking about when we are going to record a podcast
That's already dropped.
that the people hearing this have already heard. That's that's my resolution, to make this podcast even more of a fucking train wreck in the new year.
Oh Lord. So let's talk a little bit about the schedule. Um, so obviously we try to take it 41 years ago today. So you might be wondering, hey, Christmas Star Wars, that was December 25th. Yes, it was. However, the Christmas Star Wars show takes up 2.5 episodes of World Class from December 31st, January 7th, and January 14th. The January 7th Mid-South doesn't exist. I mean, it happened, I'm sure, but there's no proof that it ever happened. So instead, we're just going to do Christmas Star Wars today, and then next week we're doing the last half of the World Class show, because I believe the first half is the Flair Von Erich match, and then we're going to do the January 14th Mid-South to go along with it, and then we'll be back to normal the week after that. And other than that, we'll be back. Cindy and I'll be back tomorrow with TNA. Trey and I'll be back on Thursday with Smoky Mountain. We're back to all your favorite podcasts that you don't listen to,
Yeah.
Christmas Star Wars, December 25th, 1983, live from Reunion Arena in Dallas, Texas. It starts with somebody named Ralph Pulley, whomever the fuck that is, singing God Bless America. And I did some digging and discovered that it turns out he was a referee and a ring announcer who died in 1992 at the age of 47.
Yeah, we discussed this briefly on the whenever we watched the last Star Wars. He was I think he was on TV as the Von Erich's lawyer at one point. He was basically just like an office gopher who did, you know, whatever was needed.
I mean, really, the only other Star Wars that we ever like officially watched, because I guess Thanksgiving Star Wars they aired most of the damn show. But the only Star Wars we ever officially watched was the one back in June with Harley Race and Kevin Von Erich when David fucked over his brother.
I think Ralph Pulley was on the Thanksgiving one.
It's possible, I'm sure he was. All right, so let's go to the intro of this week's show with Bill Mercer. And it's very important that you pay attention to the music in the background. Not that it will be impossible to miss. But let's go to that right now.
World Class Championship Wrestling. Wrestling Star Wars here in Reunion Arena. Sold out. A fantastic card. Our main events filled with the suspense. The suspense of the same kind of music you're hearing right now. One of those tremendous bouts will be Iceman King Parsons and Brian Adias teaming up against the Super Destroyers, the Super Ds, who are the American Tag Team Champions. Iceman, of course, has a great bit of revenge to seek. He was viciously burned right now. And as we are in this reunion arena, you cannot tell, but there are hundreds of small lights flashing around the reunion. And it gives an eerie effect of little satellites coming across of stellar systems flashing over here at Reunion. In a galaxy of lights and excitement that sets up for a galaxy of wrestling stupendous battles. And the crowd is about as eclectic as this wrestling Star Wars introduction. As Mark Lawrence will tell us about our first bout.
All right. So, quite the intro here. We're going to see the Super Ds versus Iceman Parson and Brian Adidas for the tag team titles later on. No mention of what the actual main event is. And you might think to yourself, hey, wow, they're starting the show. They're starting the Christmas Star Wars show with the NWA World Heavyweight Championship match. Because, hey, that's Ric Flair's music. It's been Ric Flair's music forever. I mean, it was also the Memphis Wrestling TV theme song, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so we're starting the show, right, with Ric Flair defending the world title, right, Trey?
I guess.
Well, the music stops, the lights come up, and who's standing in the ring?
Drunk Mark Lawrence.
Drunk Mark Lawrence, but also John fucking Mantell, who is neither Ric Flair nor is he wrestling Ric Flair. Thank God. But it's
When
go ahead.
when I saw that the opening match was John Mantell against Max, I was concerned that you were just going to quit the podcast then and there.
Why? Because it was Max and it was John Mantell.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I looked at the timer. I'm like, all right, the show is 95 minutes long. I can get through this one match. So Max versus John Mantell. I got a question. How do you think Max works out? For those who are new listeners, possibly, because yeah, those actually exist occasionally. Max is the real name of the missing link, quote unquote, the real name, because that's what what's his name? Akbar said on Mid South once. And so his name forever on this show is Max. I gotta say, for a guy who has serious mental and intellectual issues, according to Bill Mercer, Max is pretty well defined.
Why doesn't Akbar tell him what he told us in Mid South? Why doesn't he Why doesn't he set Bill Mercer straight?
Well, I mean, Akbar's only got like 15 promos on this show. He didn't have time to chime in with what's going on with Max.
Does Akbar even like? Does he even manage Link in World Class?
Not at the moment, anyway. I don't know if he ever does, but I mean, it's certainly a guy who's up his alley, you know.
Yeah.
But
This
go ahead.
Mantel had a cheering section that was comprised of three women with just spectacular perms.
By the way, Mercer called Mantell an exciting young man, so I guess you can't always take his word for things. Um, and Max won with a top rope headbutt to the kidneys. I wrote a perfectly acceptable opener.
What do you think of perms? I
Uh,
have a very particular issue with perms.
I mean, my grandmother used to give herself perms, so I mean, I think of old ladies.
Yeah, exactly. Like my mother often had a perm, so like anytime I see a woman with a perm, like that, you are completely desexualized forever.
Were you sexualizing the women at the sport or not the sportatorium? I guess it's the reunion arena.
Oh, because I saw their hair.
Well, we then got our next match, which is Black Gordman versus Jose Lothario, in a match that theoretically comes out of nowhere, except that they shot an angle 2 months ago, at least 2 months
Yeah,
ago.
we actually get the payoff to that big Lothario Gordman feud.
Yes. Um, we saw, as wrote down, the fakest Santa Claus I've ever seen in my life meandering through the crowd. And
I
so go ahead.
immediately thought, I immediately felt that there was something suspicious about the Santa Claus.
Oh yeah, especially when they kept bringing him up because they bring him up repeatedly through the show. So it's like, okay, yeah, there's something going on here, and especially like I'm like his like his fake stomach was exceptionally fake. Like it wasn't even a good looking fake stomach. Um,
No, it wasn't.
so referee Fred Sinclair was dressed in all red, and he's somehow wearing more red than Black Gordman, who, despite being Black Gordman, he wore a singlet and boots that were 95% red. So I was curious, do you think he's a fan of Gordman, or was Gordman trying to appeal to the referee?
Uh, I'm gonna say I'm gonna chalk this one up to coincidence.
That was a that fucking outfit that the referee was wearing. That's a lot of fucking red. It was even red
Uh,
boots he was wearing. Uh,
maybe he was a big fan of
I mean,
Red Shoes Dugan, where Red Shoes Uno got his thing from. The referee that wore red shoes.
see, I thought you were going to say that he used a time machine and was a big fan of Amazing Red.
Oh
Even
well, there's also that too. Hey, Amazing Red was amazing.
yes, and he was red, even though he didn't wear nearly as much red as this referee did. Um, Lothario, at one point, this match was not terribly exciting, but at one point, Lothario holds up a punch, so the crowd is like, okay, he's going to punch Black Gordon right in the face. And just as the crowd starts approving of this, he slaps on a chin lock. What was the point of signaling a punch?
And it's so funny because it Jose has like the greatest punches. I feel like I say it every time we see him, but his punches are fucking phenomenal. Uh, this was a very like 70s style match, and that's not gonna work on like a fundamental level for some people. But like the work here was tremendous. It was just two old pros doing their thing. I liked it.
It was not a bad match. It just wasn't terribly exciting, even in my opinion, by 1983 standards. Lothario wins with a backslide. After the match, Black attacks Jose, but gets knocked the fuck out. They show some Hispanic fans at ringside, and Mercer doesn't quite know what to say. And he's like, some happy supporters there at ringside.
Just watch the post match. Jose hits Gordman with 2 punches, 1-2. It's fucking phenomenal. It just takes him out.
And it's hilarious because we talked about every time Lothario's on TV, we talk about how Shawn Michaels is on his way in at some point. He like Lothario, and I know it's only like what 13 years difference. He looks pretty much exactly the same as he did in his WWF run. Well, run is a strong word, but you know what I mean. When he was the manager of Shawn Michaels in '96.
Yeah, see what he's I think 49 or 50 here.
Must be,
Yeah,
yes,
he kind
something like
of
that.
he was I think he was well
He was
we
born
never
at an
saw him
old
without a
age.
shirt on. We never saw him without a shirt on in '96, did we? He
Yeah,
didn't look he didn't have the thickness, but facially he looked the same.
we did at least once because he wrestled Jim Cornette on pay-per-view.
Did he wrestle without a shirt on? I don't
I'm
know if,
I haven't watched that match in forever, but I think he did. I know
he only
he had a couple matches. Like I remember, well, I was about to call it a mixed tag. It wasn't a mixed tag, but it was Vader and Cornette versus Shawn and Jose on an episode of Raw that Vader pinned Shawn in. And I think that was after the SummerSlam match, so it led to nothing.
well
But
he and Jose and Cornette did 4 or 5 house show matches too.
yeah, but I'm just meaning on TV.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah. All right, so let's go backstage where we're going to hear from both teams in our upcoming tag team title match.
Let's see what they had to say. The American Tag Team Championship coming up next. And Iceman King Parson, Brian Adidas challenging for that championship. Iceman, you've got a score to settle.
That's right. But you know, brother, it's me and you tonight. Adidas, we got to do it tonight. I don't only want to win the titles. Look at this, sucker. And it's all going to start back tonight. Akbar, Super D's, you all mine. And we going to start it this evening. Have mercy, y'all.
Brian Adidas, you're teaming up here for a chance at the championship with a great one.
Well, it's just like my friend said here. He has a score to settle. The American Tag Team Championships on the line, and together, I don't think we can be stopped, not even by the Super Ds.
What about their super plex that they have?
I just try to not get caught up in it, try to stay on top.
And now let's go next to Akbar, who has some comments on this match.
And I warned you to get out of town, Adidas, because you're associating with that no-good Iceman, and something bad is going to happen to you in just a few minutes when you climbing that ring in that square circle. Well, you're going to get exactly what the Iceman did, so I'm forewarning both of you. But if you persist to interfere in the general's business, you're going to get a beating, and you're going to get punishment like you've never received in your entire wrestling career. So get in and get it good, Iceman. I'm a little sick and tired of looking your misfigured face. And I'll tell you what, you're going to get the superplex, and you're going to get carried out of the ring and your career completely.
All right, so I have to ask. Okay, the only person who calls him Brian Adias is Bill Mercer. Everybody else calls him a shoe company. They keep calling him Adidas. He's not Adidas. He's Adias without the extra D. Like that D that's not in his name, that the Super Ds have that D. And
He was probably just tired of it.
it's probably like when people call me Araya. It's like at some point you're just tired of correcting them. You just let them fucking go. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I don't know. Those I started questioning myself because Akbar calls him Adidas. Fucking drunk Mark Lawrence calls him Adidas. I'm like, okay, am I like I know like he's Brian Adias, but is he Adidas here? Like, you know, how what's his name? Paulie Dangerously in Memphis was Paul Dangerly because, Jerry Jarrett thought that dangerously was too much for fans to say. But but no, for all intents and purposes, it is Adias. Um, but Iceman, well, he called him Adidas too and said that this tag match should be one-on-one, and then he said he wants all three of them. Adidas said his plan was to not be given the superplex, and let's be honest, since the superplex involves you being on the ropes, that's a pretty easy move to avoid. You just avoid being on the ropes.
Yeah, that's maybe it's like like in like the WWE 2K whatever video game
hmm
when you gotta if you want to do a superplex, you gotta like set it up every step of the way. It's it's a very avoidable move, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I also liked, and I don't know if they're doing this on purpose or they're just, being stupid. They keep saying superplex like it's two words. They're like the superplex. But
Uh-huh.
and then Akbar talks about he's tired of looking at Iceman's misfigured face. And as I pointed out, it's Akbar's fault that it's misfigured.
It's Akbar's fault that it's misfigured. Isn't everything kind of Akbar's fault?
Well, this one especially since he lit his damn face on fire on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that was not very cash money of him, was it?
No, no, it wasn't. Um, well, then we get our tag team title match. It's American Tag Team Champions, the Super D's with General Skandor Akbar versus Iceman King Parsons and Brian Diaz. And this is where I talk about how drunk Mark Lawrence, what the fuck was he smoking here? Because drunk Mark Lawrence said the Super D's were nearly 800 pounds. I'm not going to sit here and like call up. I don't know if Bill Irwin's even still alive, but if he is, I'm not going to fucking call up Bill Irwin and ask, "Hey, you and Scott, were you each around 400 pounds each in 1983?" Odds are he'd probably think I was a nut job for more than one reason.
They
But yeah,
almost certainly were not, but
it's like
it's
I mean, even like in an exaggerated form, like saying 300 would probably be too much. I'd say like 270 each, if that. But
yeah, you could get away with 300 though.
yeah, it's like, hey, I believed Andre the Giant was 7'5", Hulk Hogan was 6'8", for as forever, you know. So it's like if those two can be what they are, then the Super D's can be 300 pounds. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Mercer says that Adias tossed the D's around like snowflakes. Now this is 1983, so keep in mind he's probably not talking about millennials. Although in 1983 it would have been pretty easy to throw millennials around because we're all babies if we're even born. Um, Iceman tagged in, which made the crowd lose their Super D number two. I You were talking about the lady with the perm earlier. There was a woman in the front row wearing a purple spandex bodysuit with a white t-shirt over it. I would totally wear that in 2025.
I didn't even notice that.
They didn't focus on her. She was in the background while they were fighting on the floor. And
Oh.
yes. So Iceman got a 2 count off of a side headlock takeover. And Mercer talked about how the faces need to watch out for the superplex. Like we mentioned, it's a pretty goddamn easy move to watch out for. They announced that Andre is on his way in, which is notable because Vince just started his grand takeover plans. Because spoiler alert, tomorrow the Iron Sheik is about to defeat Bob Backlund for the WWF title. Um,
Oh.
yeah, but he's actually here. Andre's here for the first week of January and then a week at the end of April. And from what I can tell, that week in April is the last non-WWF US shots he does, period. because he still works Japan while he's with the WWF for a little bit, but that's it. So the D's get the heat on a Diaz. Iceman gets the hot tag, but then gets cut back off around the 15-minute call. However, Iceman with a small package out of nowhere on one of the D's to win the match and the title. After the match, the D's were back on the attack, beating a Diaz onto the floor. Actually, I'm sorry, they beeled a Diaz to the floor, which just looked dangerous as fuck, and then gave Iceman a superplex before a Diaz ran them off.
So this wasn't like a great match, but by the time it was over, I thought it was pretty decent. Like it kind of exceeded expectations.
Definitely, like if I just told you before like the match started that hey, we're going to see the Super D's versus Brian Adias and Iceman Parsons in a 16-minute match, we're like, this might be a little tough to watch. But it wasn't. I thought it was a very good little match. I thought honestly it went just as long as it needed to, because around the time when I started going, okay, it's time for the finish, it was time for the finish. You know?
As the match passed the 10-minute mark, I found myself wishing for Parsons to get color, go backstage, make a comeback, and get disqualified. But
sadly, that did not happen.
It was fine. Parsons is fine as long as he's on offense. They get the heat on Adias, which was the right choice. Does Brian Adias ever end up in the WWF? Like he'd be a total Vince guy if he got ripped.
I think he does, but I think he was only a jobber.
Like he's got a big frame and he's athletic enough. He's just not that interesting in the ring, which is not a real handicap for Vince.
Yeah. Honestly, I was more surprised that Vince never did anything more with Al Perez, because that seemed like a Vince guy. But oh well. But
I know Al Perez was ever there.
He was like a push jobber. He was a jobber who occasionally got some wins on TV.
Yeah.
All right. So from here, we're going to go to our next set of promos. It's with Kerry Von Erich, and yes, another General Skandor Akbar promo.
Before Wrestling Star Wars here at Reunion Arena, we had a chance to pre-tape an interview with Kerry Von Erich and Skandor Akbar. Kerry Von Erich and Kamala coming up. Kerry, David Von Erich has put the claw on him and you have body slammed him. What about this one?
You know, Bill, we don't need to be talking about what people's done to him, because I've slammed Kamala and I won in my $10,000. He said the match wasn't sanctioned. Well, tonight it's sanctioned. Tonight the air is filled with electricity. And all the people here that saw what's going down here tonight understands what electricity is. This air is full of it. And I'm slamming Kamala for my $10,000 and Akbar. You're not razzle-dazzling your way out of this one. That's not only 10 grand you owe me, baby. That's 20 grand now.
And as usual, Akbar had his comments.
Yes, Kerry Von Erich, you're screaming for $10,000 that you rightfully don't deserve because you caught the Ugandan warrior off balance, and you know it. The only thing in 10,000 ways of unity is a bad, bad bruise on your body, and perhaps this in itself, Kerry Von Erich, this evening at Reunion, you're going to get the beating of your life. And I might add, it'll be a banner evening for the General's mighty forces. And I can't think of a better evening to end your career, Kerry. And then after we finish with you, it's Dave and Kevin and that young snot-nosed punk Mike, because I haven't forgotten you either. So be it at Reunion, Kerry Von Erich, you're going down because you can't slam the Ugandan warrior.
Akbar shouldn't worry because he doesn't have to worry about David Von Erich for much longer anyway. So we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a few minutes. So what was I gonna say here? Oh yeah, so I wanted them to take a camera and a microphone out and ask the fans what electricity is, since Kerry is so insistent that that could have been a great segment.
Electricity.
They just got
I'm just.
indoor. They just got indoor plumbing last year. You want them to have electricity now?
This is Dallas. This is not. That might actually be a valid joke if this was SMW.
Yeah, okay. Save the joke for Thursday, I guess. Um, so the point is, Kerry thinks he should get $10,000 for slamming Kerry that time. Or sorry, it would have been interesting to see him slam himself, but he should get $10,000 for slamming Kamala that one time. And now tonight, if he slams him again, he should get another $10,000. Do you think that would hold up in court? Either discussion about whether or not he should get $10,000?
Uh, no. I just kind of want to see like if you put this in front of like a real judge, what you would say. I just
I
think that'd probably be entertaining.
I think ultimately, like it comes down to it being a gentleman's agreement, and since there's no written contract, since there's no uh legal necessity for him to actually pay up. And I'd want to see Kamala, the Ugandan warrior, called to the witness stand. that
Yes. Oh.
that's
Oh,
a
if they
that's a Tuesday night Titan skit waiting to happen.
Fritz could have saved the territory if he'd have hired us to book.
Yes. Me not even born yet, and you actually you were a dream in your mom's eye, or however that sentiment goes.
Yeah.
So we then get Kamala with General Skandor Akbar and Friday versus Kerry Von Erich. Now, before the last match, we noted that the Super Ds were introduced as a combined weight of 800 pounds. Pray tell, Trey, what is more believable? That the Super Ds have a combined weight of 800 pounds, or that Kamala, as listed on his match graphic, is 6'10"?
Uh, that's awful. I think Kamala being 6'10" is a little more absurd.
And the funny thing is, like, they had been announcing him this as either 6'9" or 6'10" in Mid South. And the funniest thing always was that Reeser Bowden was taller than him. Um, but uh, but here, what should we call it? He's barefoot and he's in the ring, and Kerry Von Erich is just as tall as he is. So either they're full of shit or Kerry's wearing some big ass fucking boots. Because oh yeah, by the way, Kerry is listed as 6'3". So either Kerry's wearing 7-inch lifts or that's total bullshit.
Well, it wouldn't be too long before Kerry was a foot shorter, you know.
God. Did I tell you my Owen Hart joke?
No.
If on New Year's Eve you would have turned on Over the Edge at 11:19 p.m., midnight would come when Owen Hart fell.
Well, that's
Or you could watch Owen Hart fall. Like I fucked it up. But
oh. That would have been better. The other way, it was just confusing and upsetting.
yes. As opposed to now where it's upsetting and just me being a dick.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't know. I thought Carrie being a foot shorter was clever.
oh, it was. It definitely was. So Kamala misses a chop and Kerry teases the claw, which made Kamala freak out and go outside to regroup. I want you to listen to me very closely when I say the next sentence. Kamala went for a Greco-Roman knuckle lock. Let me repeat that. Kamala, the Ugandan giant, went for a Greco-Roman knuckle lock. Kerry,
Yeah.
being the baby face that he is, drop kicked Kamala instead of going for a clean wrestling hold, which angered the technical wizard Kamala. Kamala, Kamala then applied the boob claw, which Kerry managed to break. Akbar tripped Kerry from the floor, and about 30 seconds later, quote-unquote, David Manning immediately called for the bell. And then, after the match is over, Kerry slammed Kamala again. Which, hey, I still say it didn't count too because it wasn't during a match. But anyway, Akbar, who got his man disqualified, was upset, and Kevin Von Erich ran down in his pink shirt to hug Kerry. Now, after the match, Akbar yelled at biased David Manning, and Manning said that he saw Akbar trip him. We then showed the replay where David Manning was not even looking at him. And they re-aired it twice.
Typical of that David Manning.
Yes, he turned his head around once he saw Kerry on the mat. Now, yes, you can make a logical assumption what happened here. However, I asked my good friend Aubrey Edwards this once because I was pointing out some of the preposterosity that happens in a wrestling ring, and she had a very simple explanation. No matter what happens, you cannot assume anything. If you did not see it, then it is not a disqualification. You cannot make assumptions based on logic or anything like that. If you don't see it, it didn't happen. Because there's this one TNA moment that Cindy and I are going to get to in a few months, where Chris Harris is wrestling in the ring, and in the view of the referee, or to the referee's point of view, Chris Harris ran the ropes, and then when the referee turned around, Chris Harris was now laid out outside the ring, having crashed into the guardrail. So in the view of the referee, Chris Harris threw himself out of the ring and into the guardrail. And actually, yeah, that was the example that I asked Aubrey about when she said that, which makes sense. If you don't see it, it doesn't count. So our good friend, biased ass David Manning, did not see that, but it somehow counts.
It's typical. It's typical behavior. It's fucking David Manning. This blatant favoritism of toward these Von Erichs. It's appalling.
And it gets worse. It gets worse on this show. Oh God.
So
I don't know if Texas doesn't have a state athletic commission, or at least they didn't for years, but someone should have been investigating this.
Investigating the biased officiating?
Yes.
The funny thing is that if Texas, it's being Texas, if they did install an athletic commission, the commission refs would be even worse.
Probably. What were your thoughts on this match? It's actually funny because it was almost Kamala's longest match ever, but it ended like right around 6 minutes, I believe.
These two were perfect together. Kerry looks like a great worker when he's with someone who complements his style. Mm-hmm. And Kamala doing Kamala shit is great anyway. And with Kerry, it just works. Yeah. And the DQ was shitty, but this was really good while it lasted.
It was good shit. I don't know if it was the best match on the show, but it was pretty goddamn good. Let's go to a promo backstage with Chris Adams and then Jimmy Garvin and company.
The American Heavyweight Championship defense by Chris Adams. But there's more to that than just the defense of the title.
Right, Bill, it is my first defense, and I'm going to try my hardest, obviously, but it is also one of the most interesting matches I've ever been in. Because if I win this one, apart from keeping the American Heavyweight title, Sunshine will also get Precious in the ring for 5 minutes, and I just cannot wait to see that, Bill.
And how do you feel about that, Miss Sunshine?
5 minutes with Precious? What can I say? I'm ready.
Let's find out what gorgeous Jimmy Garvin and Precious have to think about that.
Hey, in a little while, the match in the century is going to happen. I don't know what you people think of Roy Rogers and that Dale Evans-looking character. Hey, man, you are looking. Let me see my mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the American champion, the greatest of them all? It's me, gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, baby, and I got it all together for tonight. You don't have to worry about
Jim,
a thing.
I don't think that it's a good idea.
Baby.
Something could go wrong. Something could go wrong.
Baby, kiss these lips. Don't worry, Daddy's got everything under control. Yeah.
Just a little creepy, just a little creepy. So I was honestly, go ahead.
This is uncomfortable. It's it's a study in a woman being pressured into doing something that she doesn't feel comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
Because Precious wants no part of this. She is not happy about any of this shit.
And this is the same Sunshine who made David Von Erich the top babyface in the territory when he was beating her up earlier this summer. So, welcome to Texas in 1983.
It's crazy how easy those turns used to be. Like, you didn't have to put any thought into them. Just some territories that they just got to come out of the good guy locker room now and they get cheered.
Yep. So up next, it's American champion Chris Adams with Sunshine versus Jim Garvin with Precious. And I noted there's still 3 matches left in the show, but only 42 minutes left in the video. So I was actually concerned that I didn't have the right version of the show, that I was going to miss something. And I guess technically I did, but I didn't. Yeah, they got all 3 matches in the last 95 minutes.
Yes, they did.
Or the last 42 minutes, excuse me. So Red Ref is refereeing this match again, and Adams is wearing all red. Coincidence? Hey, it didn't work out for Black Gordman earlier. So
all of these referees are crooked for somebody.
Yep. But Adams allegedly hit a super kick that sent Garvin flying out of the ring. And I say allegedly because the camera was on Sunshine at that point. Garvin got back in at the count of 14. And I honestly never noticed that World Class has a 20 count out. But then again, they never do count outs, so.
It didn't even register.
So I wrote the match was pretty quick, although every match they've had was actually pretty quick. I think the longest match they had was that first one that on TV that did like a 10-minute time limit draw that time that started this feud.
Yeah, the best one.
Yeah. Garvin reversed the roll-up and grabbed a hold of the tights for the win. And shockingly, amazingly, because I was not expecting Garvin to win here, but we have a new champion. Sunshine is begging the referee to change his mind, and Precious was feeling full of herself here. Precious was like, what the hell? And attacked Sunshine, but that didn't work out. And Sunshine tried to rip Precious's shirt off, and while that shirt will never be worn again, Sunshine was really unable to really tear it off.
I kind of love the storyline. I adore Sunshine. Garvin and Precious are awful people, and Chris Adams is just a friendly English gentleman.
Yes. Maybe if Sunshine had a Von Erich in her corner, she could have gotten her 5 minutes with Precious.
I bet she wishes she would have thought of that.
Yeah. So yeah, Jim Garvin is our new American champion, and mind you, it's World Class. They have 8 million titles and they change hands constantly. But I guess technically Garvin is the #1 champion in the company now.
Yeah, again, because he was just he held it. He won it like in the summer, and he only lost it at Thanksgiving, right? So he only lost it from like Thanksgiving to Christmas.
Yep. He's been here since February. Like when we started doing this, or when I started doing this, was right after he debuted, and his first TV match was winning the Texas title. And then he held the Texas title for the most part for the next 4 or 5 months, and then right after he lost that, he won the American title. So he's been a champion the vast majority of the time he's been in the territory.
People want to complain about AEW and WWE having too many titles today. This fucking company would just have titles and you would hear about them once and never again, or they only exist on one TV show. They exist in Fort Worth, but not Dallas. There's the brass knuckles title that we've seen once, the Texas title that we've seen once. The American title is the only one that's recurring. The tag titles just disappear for months on end.
To be fair, I mean, actually, you came in at the end of the Texas title run, but we had 4 or 5 months of Texas title storyline, so you just missed all that. But they haven't done anything since. But yeah, if you're in this territory and you've never been a champion, then you are a jobber. Because I mean, John Mantell, I think, is the TV champion, or at some point he was a TV champion. So if that jobber can be champion, so can you. All right.
You think so?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
So let's go to a promo with Mike and Kevin Von Erich, and then the Freebirds. And let me turn on the volume.
Against the Freebirds next. Kevin Von Erich and Mike Von Erich, and this is a battle of, well, an old feud.
Well, Bill, a lot of people think that Von Erich's a bit off more than we can chew. They think that Mike's too young to be getting in the ring with seasoned veterans like Terry Gordy and Buddy Roberts. Well, let me tell you this. Mike is a chip off the old block. He's just like my dad, and he's full of fire and brimstone. And, boy, when we get in that ring, this guy's not going to let me down, folks. A lot of people got a lot of questions about Mike. But let me tell you right now, this kid is not going to let me down. We're going to take those Freebirds, and we're going to send Terry Gordy back to Atlanta. We're going to send him right there, back to Atlanta, Georgia. They're good people there, but these Freebirds don't belong in Texas. They've worn their welcome out. Right, Mike?
Right. And let's find out what Terry and Buddy Roberts think.
I just want everybody in Texas to know that this is something that I've been waiting on for a long time. It's finally come. Mike Von Erich, you are stupid enough to step up in the ring with the Freebirds. Now listen, boy, like I said before, you're with the pros now. You're stepping up in the ring with the pros, and you're just starting in this business. And after tonight, Jack, you're going to regret all this right here, because your brother's going to have to leave the state of Texas, and my brother's coming back. What do you got to say, baby?
Hey, you know what I got to say, Terry Gordy? Hey, I've had to wear this wig for a long time, but I don't have to wear it no more. My hair's coming back, just like Michael Hayes is going to come back, I'll tell you.
All right, so Mike Von Erich with the promo of the century. He said one word, right.
Yeah. He looked so uncomfortable.
I think he really did not want to be a wrestler, and he got forced into it, and it really fucking sucks.
Yeah.
So it took a little bit for me to figure out what the goddamn steps of this were, because I thought it was losing team leaves town, but not quite. It's if the Von Erichs lose, no matter who loses, then Kevin leaves town because Mike is still a rookie. So, it'd be unfair to make him leave town. And if the Freebirds, if the Von Erichs lose, not only does Kevin leave town, but Michael Hayes gets to come back. And if the Freebirds lose, then whichever of the two get beaten have to leave town.
Yes.
All right. And Buddy took off his wig during the promo, showing that his hair has grown back in 6 months. I'm shocked. Actually, it's even less than 6 months because he took his wig off a few months ago and he was still bald. So,
That's a relief. I was concerned about his hair.
Yeah, so then we get the match, Terry Gordy and Buddy Roberts versus Kevin and Mike Von Erich. Buddy put his wig back on for some reason to come out to the ring just to take it off once the match started. I noted that Mercer may have been drinking the same eggnog that Mark Lawrence was, because he kept calling Mike Von Erich Mike Hayes to the point where even he got frustrated and had to point it out. Whichever Mike it is, he drop kicked Gordy when Gordy tried getting involved. The Freebirds did get the heat on him when Gordy put his knee in Mike's back as he was coming off the ropes, which is actually the move that led to Dynamite Kid fucking up his back, if you recall.
Yeah.
I wrote Mike took a pretty good ass kicking. And I mean, it's not great. He has a long way to go. Well, in theory, he has a long way to go. But, he had something if he really wanted it. But he rolls out of the way on a pair of Gordy elbow drops to get the hot tag. Kevin comes in, a house on fire, misses a top rope crossbody, which let Gordy apply the Oriental Spike. A four-way breaks out, and Mike gets sent over the top rope onto Bill Mercer. And this is where it gets awkward because maybe I didn't pay attention for a split second and missed something. But apparently, Santa Claus attacked Mike Von Erich. I did not see Santa Claus attack Mike Von Erich.
They did not show it.
Okay, good. Because what I saw was Santa attacking the fans. Like, all of a sudden, Santa is throwing punches at fans. I'm like, okay, that's different.
This was the worst reveal ever. And even like Mercer just says, "Hey, Santa Claus is Michael Hayes."
Yeah, this is before he even took off the hat and wig and beard. He's like, "Oh, I think it's Michael Hayes." What a shock. Bronco Lubick gets bumped. So, of course, we have three referees on this show. We have Bronco Lubick, we have Fred Sinclair, and we have David Manning. So Bronco was the referee for this match. He gets bumped. And who runs in at fucking breakneck speed to assist the Von Erichs in the finish here? But motherfucking David Von Erich. And Mike pinned Gordy with a sunset flip. Santa attacked Mike Von Erich, who ended up being Michael Hayes. And he had hit. He allegedly hit Mike out with a chair outside the ring. I thought he hit David, but turns out I thought he hit Kevin, excuse me, but he actually hit Mike apparently. But Santa ran away and Kerry ran in for the save. But
there's only one free bird left.
Yep, and it's funny because Mercer, this was not Mercer's best match because he was confused about which Freebird has to lose because they think he thought it was a disqualification. But no, Mike pinned Terry Gordy, so in theory, Gordy's the one that has to leave.
This is what I was told.
Yes. However, spoiler alert, everyone's back pretty goddamn soon. They did tease the Dusty finish, and I don't even know what the Dusty finish would have been. Like, I don't know what the DQ would have been that would have led to Gordy and Buddy winning. But, yeah, they just announced the Von Erichs won, and Kerry and Kevin bumped the Freebirds out of the ring. So the only one left is good old Buddy Roberts.
Oh, he just got his hair back. Things are going so well for him.
Yep. Maybe you could team, I don't know, maybe you could team with John Mantell.
John Mantell and Buddy Roberts.
Yeah, that'd be a hell of a team, wouldn't it?
Who are you turning?
John Mantell.
Johnny Mantell's.
He's a natural heel to me, so.
I don't think he has enough personality to be a heel.
True. I just do not like that man at all. Spoiler alert! You'll find this hard to believe, but I'm not a Johnny Mantell fan.
Is it because we have to watch him have 10-minute matches with people who should be beating him in 5 minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
understandable.
It's painfully obvious. The only reason why it is because his brother's the booker.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So it's time for the main event, and we are joined in progress. It is NWA World Champion Ric Flair versus David Von Erich. They joined in progress pretty much around the time Mark Lawrence announces we're 15 minutes in. So we'll have to take their word for it, I guess. As the match goes on, David goes for the claw but missed it. No, really. Flair moved out of the way when David went for the claw. And then then Flair successfully fights it off. David uses a backslide, and then Flair heaves him over the top rope, which should have been a disqualification, but biased David Manning refused to disqualify Ric Flair due to it being an intentional toss over the top rope. Because typically you don't intentionally throw people over the top rope, I guess. So David gets the claw on. Flair fights it. They end up in the ropes, or they end up on the mat near the timekeeper's table. Flair reaches over and grabs the metal microphone off of the desk and hits David with it. And then biased David Manning still didn't want to disqualify Flair. And then he basically had no choice. I guess David Von Erich could not continue. So it's like when you get a low blow in a UFC fight and you can't continue. And even if the referee thinks it's bullshit, you have to disqualify the guy who gave the low blow. And in this case, the guy that did the hit with the microphone. So Manning was pissed.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, again, and we joke about this, referees are supposed to be unbiased. Like, you can have some character, like, when Earl Hebner and Triple H used to, fuck around with each other. You can have a character and have the referee stand up for themselves and all that happy horse shit.
Ric Flair and Tommy Young.
Yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, you can't be fucking overly biased like this. Like, this is laughable. Like, we're supposed to still believe wrestling is real. If wrestling's real, there's no way that David Manning would be allowed to referee any Von Erich matches.
These finishes are so convoluted and bad, but then like I don't have any suggestions to do it better, because he's like sympathies to Ken Mantell, just because like you these are matches that you have to figure a way out of.
Yeah.
Because you have to have the match, but then like you can't beat the world champion, and you're not going to beat a Von Erich, so you got to come up with some dumb bullshit like this.
Yeah. This was not a very creative finish at all. Like, and we've had some bad world title finishes. Like we had, as we mentioned, we had that Harley Race Kevin Von Erich match, which ended with David assaulting Harley Race for no good reason.
We've seen some really creative finishes on these shows. This was not one of them.
Yeah. So David does have one more world title match on February 4th in San Antonio. I'm fairly certain it doesn't air because he dies on the 9th. So even if they were planning on airing it, I doubt they do.
I don't think they taped anything but
Fort Worth and Dallas.
Fort Worth and Dallas, yeah.
So I mean, yeah, we're at the end. Like we've commented about it before, but we're January, what the fuck day is today? January 7th. This match is going to air on the TV show on January 14th. Kevin Von Erich is dead in a month.
David.
Yes, David Von Erich is dead in a month. Kevin Von Erich is still alive.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
He's still with us.
Good for him, Good for fucking him.
Good for him.
Yeah. He's broken the curse of the Von Erichs. So that's it for World Class Star Wars. Honestly, I thought there was something missing here in terms of it being a big show. I thought it was a good show, but if I was somebody who went to Reunion Arena, I don't know, maybe if 2024 me or 2025 me went to Reunion Arena for this show, I'd have been disappointed. I think the fans, they're probably happy for the tag title change or happy the Freebirds are now out of town. I don't know. I think even they were probably disappointed by that main event finish. And that
This did not feel like as big a show as the International Star Wars in the summer was.
Yeah, that one was built up for months. Like this one, I don't know, did they ever mention this one on TV at all?
During the Thanksgiving one, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, the one we saw in June, that was built up since the beginning of April. The Thanksgiving one, that had been built up for at least a month. This was just this was just nothing. This was just there. But oh well, I
I
guess. Mhm.
I don't know. I kind of get like, you know, the boys tag match going like 11 minutes. Why are like Jimmy Garvin and Chris Adams, who have been in an important feud on TV, and this is like the big reunion arena show, why are they only getting 5 minutes?
I don't know. That's just really bad. And like the tag title match you mentioned, the tag title match went 16 minutes. That match could have gone 5 minutes or 6 minutes, and no one would have batted an eye. And that was a fine match, but I would rather have that match go 5 minutes and this match, the Chris Adams Jimmy Garvin match, go closer to 15 minutes.
They should have switched match times.
Yeah. But oh well. All right. So typically this is where we would start bullshitting around for about 45 minutes because, the show's only gone about an hour and a few minutes. But Wrestle Kingdom starts in less than 6 hours, and I think we both want to take a nap. So I say let's wrap things up. What say you?
That sounds good to me.
All
Happy
right.
to happy to be back into the swing of things here in the new year, where we look forward to bringing you more of the same bullshit.
Check out the Oh My God cast. Check out something else. Check out Smoky Mountain. Check out the TNA show. Thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.